Hello, my name is Joseph Maroon. I'm a neurosurgeon at the University of Pittsburgh, and I'm very proud to speak to you today about the secret to balance and resilience in any pandemic. What I'm going to do this afternoon is share with you a little bit about burnout and also a personal story of myself of really significant burnout and how I overcame it, and then I'm going to share with you really the secret to a balanced life. First of all, let's talk about burnout. What is it? I can tell you I've been there. And when I say I've been there, when I finished my residency at the University of Indiana many years ago, I came to the University of Pittsburgh and I had many successes, if you would. And I was appointed the chief of neurosurgery at the hospital at the university. I was a Steeler consultant doing significant research. And I was really at the top of my game, so to speak, but there was something missing, and that was perspective. And I'm doing all these nice things at the University of Pittsburgh. And the next day there was a catastrophe. My family broke up because of my I would have to say my selfish approach to my profession. My father died of a heart attack, and I had to quit neurosurgery all the same week, literally. And so one day I was literally doing brain surgery on awake patients, as you see here. And the next, I was literally working in this truck stop that my father bequeathed to my mother, and worked in this truck stop, pumping gas, filling up 18-wheelers, flipping hamburgers, and wondering, how am I going to get out of this mess? And one day, the local banker who held the mortgage on the truck stop called and said, "Hey, Joe, let's go for a run." I was 20 pounds overweight, felt nothing like running. I couldn't walk up a flight of stairs without being short of breath. But we went down to this track in Wheeling, West Virginia. I made it around 4 times, thought I'd die, said never again. But that night was the first night I slept in months. I went back the next day myself, did a mile and a quarter, mile and a half, and pretty soon I was finally understanding the relationship between the physical activity and my mental health. And subsequently, I started to swim and bike and was able to compete in triathlons. And this is Heinz Ward of the Steelers, who I competed in the Hawaiian Ironman triathlon with several years later. And that's a 2.2 mile swim, a 112 mile bike, and a marathon through the lava fields of Kona. And I tell you this not to boast, but to say that there was life after depression. And this is the swim start, which I love to show, and it takes me way back. An amazing experience at 7 a.m. in the morning, and was actually able to finish. So the point of that is there is life after failure in a way, and I was a failure at the time, and I didn't know how I would come back. And then I picked up this little book, I Dare You, by William Banforth, the founder of the Rolston Purina Company, who gave this as a high school present to those who were selected to be high achievers. And he said, I dare you to live a balanced life. And clearly, my life was completely out of balance. And I said, okay, what do I have to do? And those of you listening in the audience, I want you to look at this square and in your own minds, draw this and embed it in your brain, your memory section of your brain, your hippocampus. And now I want you to draw a line commensurate with how much effort and time you put on each side of this square. When I did that, my square looked like the bottom figure that you see here. There was nothing. It was all work, no relationships, no spirituality, and no physical. And what I discovered with that run around the high school track that I was very reluctant to do was that the physical was extremely important in terms of the mental, the spiritual, and the mind-body connection. And also the nutritional side of the square that I put under the physical. And I'd like to share just a little bit of neuroanatomy, if you would, neurochemistry. You know, what does exercise do to the brain? It releases a molecule called BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, that actually makes new brain cells, makes new connections, and enhances brain plasticity. And it also increases your serotonin, acetylcholine, dopamine, and anandamide levels, which make you feel better, think better, and be sharper. And the diet that I want to introduce you to the concept of epigenetics, which includes diet, exercise, and a few other things. And if you think of our gene or our genome, it's like your blueprint to a house. You lay it out on the table, and it does nothing until it's acted upon. Those factors that activate your genes are called epigenetic. So when you look at epigenetic factors, and you think of nutrition, exercise, environmental areas, and emotional health, the nutritional is incredibly important in terms of what we eat activates transcription factors that tells our genes whether to make inflammatory agents or anti-inflammatory agents. What's the common cause of cancer, heart disease, stroke, MS? Inflammation. Everything we can do to reduce inflammation will help us lead a healthier and longer life. The same with exercise, avoiding environmental pollutants, excess alcohol, smoking, and also stress. Stress literally destroys brain cells. So let's talk a little bit about what we're all about here, and that's these particular products, Link, OptiMend, and GenomeX. So butyric acid is an absolute essential component to enhance our microbiome and the lining of our gut. The Link product that I take daily myself actually adds to the healthiness of my microbiome, and it has a huge effect on the mind-body connection. And the same with, we know about oxidative stress, free radicals. When we do things that create inflammation, it actually overstresses our mitochondria and can create free radicals that can be damaging to the mitochondria and the cells themselves. OptiMend is a product consisting of curcumin or turmeric and also boswellia, which for centuries have been known to be anti-inflammatory. So both of these agents are very strong antioxidants and contribute to the reduction of inflammation. And the same with GenomeX. NRF2 is a whole nother lecture in itself, but just to say that this is a powerful ingredient that activates NRF2 to reduce inflammation. So all three of these products are things that I take every day and really feel very strongly about. At this time in my career, my purpose is to do several things. And we'll go into that in a few minutes, but it's to do as much good as I can and to reach out and help as many as I possibly can, because, as you know, it is in giving that we ourselves receive. We give but little when we give of our possessions. It's when we give of ourselves that we truly give. And the work side of our square, I teach residents and medical students and doctors about how to succeed in medicine. Well, whether you're in medicine or whether you're educating people and giving to people about active products, there are 3 A's of success. Number 1, as you know, you have to be available. Number 2, affability. You have to be pleasant, have a sense of humor. And number 3, ability. Know your product. The corollary, however, is what are the 3 A's of failure? Arrogance, abhorrence, and adversarial, and avariciousness. These are the 3 A's of failure that really lead to just that. And In our business, in our professions, in our homes, we are stressed. But stress is good. It makes us better as long as it doesn't become distress. The key is having awareness when you are getting into the red zone of your tachometer, so to speak, where there's distress instead of good stress. And the relationship side of our square, so incredibly important in everything we do. And this quote from Heraclitus is so appropriate in so many ways. He was a Greek philosopher 500 years, 2,500 years ago. And I want you to think of this when I say it. One can never step into the same river twice. What does that mean? The river is constantly moving. It's constantly changing. Relationships, whether it's your wife, your girlfriend, your whatever, your parents, is a constant changing river and environment and experiences. And you have to be adaptive. You have to be resilient because it's not always going to go the way we want. And a second thought that this quote brings to mind is about our brains. The connectome is the wiring diagram of our brain. Hundreds of millions of dollars have been spent to tease out the connections of our brain, how we're wired, what epigenetic factors impact our connectome or wiring diagram, and also what contributes to our neuroplasticity. I mentioned before BDNF, create with exercise enhances neuroplasticity. What is that? It's the ability of the brain to form and reorganize connections, especially response to learning or experience or following injury. If you think about our five senses, smell, vision, taste, hearing, touch, your brain is constantly undergoing neuromodulation, constantly being changed by the sensory input. And it's also constantly under repair from various insults, dietary indiscretions, lack of exercise, environmental toxins. So it's incredibly important to understand that we can get better despite any catastrophe almost that we experience. And another critical thought from the Proverbs 3,000 years ago, as a man thinketh in his heart, so he shall be. Our thoughts also affect our wiring diagrams. Our thoughts impact the synaptic connections of our brain. If we think good thoughts, generally we will lead a balanced, good life. If we deviate from that, just as sure as you can imagine, things are not going to turn out well. And finally, I always ask audiences, if I had to ask you today, what are the three most important things in your life? And I've given much thought to this, and these are the three that I've come up with. Number one, your physical and mental health. Anything and everything you can do to improve your physical and mental health is key, because without those, the relationships and other aspects of your life are going to be, as Shakespeare said, in shallows and in misery. And then relationships with God, family, friends, and colleagues are absolutely essential for the way we're programmed from an evolutionary biological feature in our brains. We need people. And from the very earliest times of an infant, babies need to be touched. They need to be coddled. They need to be handled. Otherwise, really bad things happen in terms of brain development. And then finally, every day, I say carpe diem, seize the day, just like we're doing here today. Everybody listening to this has seized the opportunity to participate in this colloquium and conference, and hopefully you'll take away some nuggets and some pearls that'll help you in your own life maintain your own balance. So thank you very much. It's a great pleasure sharing experiences with you, and look forward to it again.